have to elaborate on that one.
I can do that. You probably recognize it more by his moniker, which was the Killdozer.
Oh, that was what they nicknamed the dozer that Amos and I bought when we were down at the range, and it was there and we were using it. It was called the Killdozer too. It was a brute of a machine.
That's what it was 19 years ago today, I believe. I think it was June 4th, 2004. They do just...
Oh, he's when he put
finally got fed up with the town.
Welded up a load of plates around the dozer. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No one injured. I think all targets were government buildings. I don't think anybody was killed. He just went and destroyed it all and got caught up on something, got caught up on it, and I think he killed himself inside. But he may have not known he didn't hurt anybody. Who knows? Because it was all out destructive. I guess what increases his legacy that nobody was killed, and the story goes is just total government destruction. Somebody just got fed up.
Just the breaking point had been breached.
So you'll see that Killdozer and in many images and memes and whatnot out here. So
yeah, that was wild. I remember seeing that now.
Well, welcome to the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me again, my co-host, who we just got a good minute and a half out of talking about the Killdozer.
Recording again.
Yeah.
That is such a despicable, dirty little trick that you pull.
Well, to some
but
degree.
You didn't catch me in, anything uncompromising.
Well, no. I just figured the Haymire thing would be a good lead into it, and I didn't want to end up having to explain it again after we recorded. I kind of wanted to see your reaction if you actually remembered or recalled.
No, I do. I do recall, and it was that was one of those epic moments in fairly recent history. It was just what drove the man to weld the plates up, and off he went on a mission.
Yeah.
A mission of federal destruction.
Yeah, and local government destruction, I think, is what it ended up being. It had something to do with easements and right-of-ways, and, when local government all gets in there, and there's, situations and incidences where they do gang up on...
Are you suggesting eminent domain has been abused?
Well, I don't even know if this was an eminent domain situation. I can't recall. You just have to go look it up. Maybe I'll look it up here in a second. We'll jump into it. But, we're not... This is going to be a different kind of show because today we're not being joined by anybody. We had a musical guest lined up today, and he called and ended up having to cancel as Simon was pulling into the driveway. So we figured we'd come in here and get something while you're
put something down. We can do a little bit of reflection, can't we, on what we've achieved over the last couple of years, which I think it's been a very steady and powerful growth.
Well, I want to start the show real quick and just give our condolences for the family of Matthew Chandler, Chum. Matt Chandler, good friend of mine, good friend of a lot of the people who've been on the show before. Been around him a bunch. He passed away this past week. I've known him since I can't even way back further than I can remember. So, and I used to party and hang out with his brother quite a bit in Radford. Phenomenal golfers, both of them. I think Matt won the state title in '99, and his brother won it in 2000. Back. So, anyway, that was just for a lot of the people as well. Just wanted to say where you.
It's always sad to when someone's been taken early.
Yeah, he was my age. I graduated with him. That's you seem invincible when you're young, and you can probably relate to that because we've heard the stories on here. Playing rugby, things like that, and the things we did, things I did. And then when you spend your 21st birthday in Iraq, and you come home, and it's like almost you survived that, and it's
What else could you do?
What else you got?
Yeah, come on.
And then you just test it, and then eventually you get to a point where you're like, well, damn, for one, I'm lucky. I've still made it to this point at 40, but number two, it's reality anymore. We're not, our armor's wearing thin.
Well, the cats and 9 lives thing. I think I've probably I've probably maxed out that theory of evolution. I'm probably well past, and I've had several fairly close brushes. I've got myself in situations that I'm only to blame for. But fortune favours the brave, I think is the saying, and go for it. Why not? Life's too short. My brother is he was a big one of just throwing it out there, and he would say, look, this ain't no dress rehearsal, and no truer words could have been spoken. And life's for the taking. Get on it.
It's weird you say that because I know guys went to Vietnam and they would come back and talk about the stories where you'd get a guy who was just a diehard family man sending this whole paycheck back to take care of the farm, doing everything right, and beside him you get a guy that's just probably eating LSD at night and out there just a raving lunatic in the middle of the jungle. And he's the guy that survives, and the guy doing everything right gets, he's the one that takes the bullet. It's just, it's weird how stuff like that tends to go, I guess. But you don't know when you're in a war situation. Who knows what the other guy's thinking either? I mean, there's probably people on the other side like, man, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be killing. I mean, they said there was a ton of guys in Vietnam who just reported that they just shoot over the guy's head. They were like, I don't want to be killing anybody out here. I ain't got no beef with these people. So who knows what they were thinking as well. It's weird how we reflect back and think about war, and it's always compacted into these little books that either let somebody's imagination run free, or you put it even more compacted into a film or something, and it's so hard to really capture. It really is, because you really can't. It's all visual. You can never capture the actual emotion.
I think one of the best films to come out that did capture just the absolute brutality was that Saving Private Ryan and the storming the beach. I mean, that was, I know a lot of vets went in there and had some issues with that.
It's funny you mentioned that. Good friend of the show, Don Johnson, Kelly, his wife, they were on the Beyond the Dark paranormal episode we did back in the fall. Go back and listen to that one. It was a good one. And they joined us for a bit on the Christmas episode. He came by here last night and dropped off this book, From Dust to Glory, and I'll get into a kind of a bigger thing about the implications behind all that here in a second. But I'd ask him while he was here, because he lives in Bedford. We need to find somebody. Can you find somebody that really knows about the Bedford boys and really can come in and tell their history? So, because I want to do an episode about that. We are the county next door to them. They're Appalachia. They were the first ones on the beaches that day. They lost the most per capita of any town in the country. Well,
I mean, what a horrible statistic.
Yeah.
But very fitting that the war memorial is right there. Very fitting.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made our deployment so unique and special. That's why I like doing so many different shows every few months, featuring the guys I went over there with for their different perspectives and different stories to just get that stuff documented and remembered. Because we were kind of like those guys. We were a unit of a bunch of people from around here. Now, most of them were right out of Bedford, born and raised. Us, we were Franklin County, Patrick County, Henry County, Roanoke County, then all the way down into Southwest Virginia and East Tennessee. So we made up, but still we were...
Still a regional deployment when you look at it that way. And that's, the British Army used to have very localized regiments, and had similar tales of losing whole families, particularly during the First World War. How the whole companies were just wiped out because the general thought that little piece of soil was worth going up and over for, which was just complete lunacy.
They were still doing it up into Vietnam, Hamburger Hill. They did a movie about that when they would go take it, and then they would leave, and a couple weeks later they'd go take it again, just over it. It's just, why? What are we doing? What are we doing out here?
Now, what was the 7th Cav?
We Were Soldiers.
We Were Soldiers. Now that's a very powerful movie.
And
very powerful.
As a combat veteran, I will say that in my mind, now I can't speak for Vietnam, but as far as just depicting the military atmosphere, which I can't imagine has changed too dramatically between then and the time I was in, We Were Soldiers is a very good depiction. I think Black Hawk Down is a really good depiction. That kind of features about 10 years before us.
Sam Elliott was brilliant. I mean, just brilliant in that movie. There was
Morning, Sergeant Major. How do you know what kind of a damn morning it is? That is
superb.
a Sergeant Major, yeah.
Yeah. And there was, there's been a few movies out of late going back with Afghanistan and Iraq. Let me see. There was 13 Hours, Benghazi.
Yeah.
That was superb.
Yeah.
And I got to run into Tonto a good few years ago. But yeah, it's those are things that you need to reflect on. And having just come through Memorial Day, I think that's quite fitting that we can reflect on this. It's very sobering, and that's unfortunately that's something I wasn't last night.
Yeah.
I went up to the social house, and just what a great atmosphere they've got going in there. It was such a shock when we went in there a couple of months back, and is this Rocky Mount? I was just taken aback, and we went there with my best man who came in from Costa Rica last night, and we thought, well, yeah, let's go out and have an appetizer and a couple of glasses of wine, and of course it got more than that. And it's just what a great venue for the town of Rocky Mount.
Yeah, I agree, and what a great venue to have just a couple of blocks away from my house as it sits here on the market.
Oh yeah, you could roll down the hill from there.
Yeah,
very easily.
And that's kind of another segue into kind of this show. It sucks when you have a cancellation. I was kind of looking forward to talking to our guest here today and talking some music, but where one door closes, another one opens, and so it leaves me and Simon a chance to come up with some topics, maybe brush on some things like you said about reflecting over the past couple of years of the show and doing things to that nature, and this house being for sale, this was a big part of...
Yeah, who's the horticulturalist, Billy? Because, you've got flowers and all sorts of... I could go back to Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, right? And you're not the average bleep culturist. I come in here and I'm shocked. Someone has green fingers, or at least someone got something going on.
Well...
You're not going to take credit for this, are you, Billy? Or are you going to try?
I can't take. How could I? My wife was the commander, and
all right. I was just seeing if you were going to go there.
But it is.
That was a test, Billy.
I'm not. She has. Which and with my blessing, this house has served its purpose for us as a young family, and if we can work things out and move to a place a little more suitable and accommodating, and a place that will. Be more accommodating for podcasts and podcast guests with our own studio with no windows or anything, so we can soundproof it. Plus, with some of these, the show we did outside, wind, chickens, everything, you didn't hear anything.
That was insane, wasn't it?
So, you don't really need, and that's what Spike told you, you don't really need a studio and a stuffy situation like that, but it's nice to have the indoor at our new place if that's what we end up getting. For the winter time, but outdoor, I can set up. We got an outdoor pavilion. We can grill out for guests and stuff. We can put some targets at the bottom of the hill right there and dig up a mound. It's going to be a good time, but it does signal the end of an era. We've for 2 years been doing this show now, and this is where we all started. And I don't know, we've been a thorn in Rocky Mounts.
Well, I'm not going to look at it negatively on that. Actually, some people might say, you nothing but stirring trouble, but I think we've been exposing some issues that needed to be aired. Now, if that doesn't suit the narrative, well, so be it.
Well, I think. I guess now I'm going to be a county resident, so I guess Simon, you and I even have more. Relevant, because when you come to the town council meetings, you can voice your opinion, but it's more difficult for them to take you seriously just because you're not technically you don't vote for them.
Well, no, but I do have an issue with that, and I think I raised it at one of the meetings where, as a Franklin County resident, I very much consider the county seat reflects on the county. So I do have a vested interest in the success and growth of Rocky Mount. Now, and and why would you discard an opinion of a resident? I mean, I get it. I can't vote here, but the issues that come to light reflect upon how the town moves forward, and the county needs to have a successful, growing county seat. So, to dismiss me as a non-resident, quite frankly, is bloody rude, because I do have a vested interest in the success of the town. You know, I love the place. And I'm not just being critical. I'd love to be able to swing round and harp on the successes. And I think there's going to be some very interesting success stories coming out this year for which we have got involved in. And I think next year we will see the same. So, you know, you can be critical of administrations. And that comes with the job. Now, if you can't take that, you're either doing something against the interests of the residents and lining your own pocket, or you just shouldn't be in the job, because, you know, this is the public domain. So, you know, don't take it personally, for goodness sake. You know, you can do that, but be accountable.
Well, I think the most important thing to take for this is, I guess, the Board of Supervisors is probably getting put on notice, because now you and I both are going to be county residents, and that's where a big majority of our focus should go. But I'm still going to keep tabs on the town. I'm still going to keep, because I'm not moving far outside of town. And as you said about the county seat, how it really should be is the people that live here within town and the businesses here in town, like you said, should be the life source. This is, you know, where everything happens. It can be, everybody in the county should be working towards, you know, making sure everybody in the rest of the county is taken care of as far as food, lumber, you know, resources, things like that. And then the people in the town, they kind of take care of our commerce. You know, some of them people might work in the manufacturing and stuff. But this is where I think people with a socialism kind of background, like, they envision this thing as how it should work. But the problem is you can't force it. We should work together. This is how it should be. But we can't get to that point with more government, and that's what socialism, because government's the thing that screwed us up in the first place. Government came in, and, you know, they would implement these things in some of these rural areas, and they would allow some of these things in these rural, then they would shut it down, and all of a sudden now you got people living here without anything to help their economy continue, whereas if the government just didn't come in and regulate as much as they did and just let people kind of go along freely and let the market eventually take care of itself, well, now the regulations just push everything inward and take away all the ability for all these little smaller towns to pop up here and there to.
Well, and here lies what I think one of the biggest mistakes that's been made in the county. And I've heard a couple of, I mean, he's going back more than a couple of years actually, is how we only have one middle school and one high school. And when you've got a class, I think last year the class of 600 graduating, that's insane, you know, and that level of centralisation, I don't think is good. We've dropped the ball somewhere, because we I hear the counter argument already in the back of my mind. Oh, but if you were to put a high school up closer to the lake, there would be the rich high school. And, you know, then you get all the farm kids and the Title I coming, you know, and being in Rocky Mount. I don't know how you counter that argument.
Well, the counter to it is it happens everywhere else, and it's just a part of life, and it's not. I mean, you can't expect people to devalue themselves just to appease other people. I mean, there's high schools in Roanoke, Cave Spring, Hidden Valley, or Salem are much better than your William Flemings and Patrick Henrys and things of that nature, and even some maybe the county schools. It's the which is it just kind of furthers my argument to get rid of the whole system in the entire first place.
Well, I mean, they've at the moment, I think it's abundantly clear that the public school system is failing on a epic scale, and that's not down to the teachers. And I'm not, you know, levelling, you know, the teachers have failed the kids. Absolutely not. I think the administration that's been tied to state and federal funding has been an absolute disaster.
Just a cat and a stick, like you've said
Yeah.
so many times before.
Yeah. So I mean, those things. I mean, those are always going to be a constant battle. I think that we have to stand and fight against. But it's become apparent since I've been rattling the sabre against them for the school board that it's more to do with, you know, the administrations bleeding down from Richmond and from DC. So, you know, they've got to be the buffer zone to stop some of the lunacy that appears to be taking place. And we just need to be aware of it. Where else do we go from here? I mean, I don't know the solution. I really don't.
Well, I think whatever we are doing here for this show, now we're going on 2 years now doing this show. Simon, you've been a major part of it for 8 months. You were on a handful of episodes previous to all that as well. So I still consider you a part of the show, you know, dating way back, even to its inception, because I've been preaching this from day one. You know, I'm not doing this to increase my ego or anything like that. Like, I had a goal in mind from the beginning. That's just to bring people together and to figure out a way to network good people. And I think here we are 2 years into it, and we've those seeds have been sown, and we're starting to now see a little bit of growth. Because I never looked at it as my thing. I looked at it as our thing. I looked at it as our county thing. Like, I want to bring people on here. That's why I bring.
That have influence.
That's why I like bringing Carter on here for the sports shows. That's why I like bringing, you know, somebody like field musician Joshua Grace or Kyle Forey on.
Sorry, Josh.
To, you know, talk to my musical guests. You know, that's why I like bringing different farmers in here for different. I mean, because everybody ends up essentially being a part of it. Because when they're coming on here, they're trying to tell the best stories and give the best advice they possibly can, because these are their neighbors that they're speaking to. These are people that's going to increase the value of their living around them by tuning in and listening. So we've inspired people.
Well, look at the spin-off of Stay Local Franklin County.
That's growing
that
every
Nick
day.
and Mayor and Donna Cosmato have now got involved with. You know, that to me is one of the most successful spin-offs that was spurred by our farming shows, and that is so refreshing.
Yeah, because you see the things you're talking about and the things you're pushing for, they're happening in motion, and it's tough to really see them in the moment. But when you pull back and you see the progress that's been made over months and months, I mean, like I said, we inspired them. We spoke last week about inspiring, you know, a handful of other people to do shows. Don Johnson then wanted to start doing a podcast. Brian and Darnell are doing a podcast now. Hermie and Bill Sadler. You know, people getting out there, and I encourage all that to happen. Get out there and listen to what they got to say. You might not agree with it. You might not like it. Some things you might want to question. Some things you might love. But more importantly, you're at least getting somebody that's on the ground level's opinion, and you're not getting this corporate media. I would much rather you support these people around here. But the Stay Local Franklin County thing, that branches out to something like Melvin's Farm to Fork. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, they have gotten a handful of new customers that have heard them on this show, that have heard us talk about them on this show, and you know, they've expanded their store down there. There's so much you can get. I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, that's a success story, right? You know, I mean, it's you know, and that's what we should be crowing about, success stories.
And we talk about them, and we want them to continue to thrive. We want them to continue to support their area. But their area is just a fraction of Franklin County. We want a store like hers to pop up in Ferrum somewhere. We want one to pop up in Callaway. We want one to pop up in Boone's Mill. You know, one pop up in Henry. So where everybody has a place to go to get locally sourced food, veggies. I like the farmers market in downtown Rocky Mount, but
Well, there is going to be a farm to table store coming to the Morris Hotel.
yes, and that'll be a good one for the residents of Rocky Mount to have year round. But
Yeah.
the rest of the county, I like, and I know there are a lot of farms out there doing this. Gail, the last time we had her on the show, she rattled off a ton of those stores and places. They're popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are happening now. You know. And they're happening because these people are having these ideas to do them as well. But we're having these ideas and we're sending people their way. And the statistics show, I mean, we're encouraging people to go spend their money at these places and support these people, and they're thriving. I mean, these are the things that need to continue to happen. We're onto something here.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's and there's no putting that genie back in the bottle now. I can see this going from strength to strength. The fact that we now have Chase and Jess at Casey Farms and their facility, we need to get them on at some point for sure. Because what they're doing there is, I mean, they've invested a phenomenal amount of money in a facility that, quite frankly, and I've been there several times now. I mean, this is the way of the future, you know.
And it's funny because if you think about it, it's wild to think about how history doesn't really repeat, but it rhymes, and how we got to this mass production society where everything is mass produced. Your food, your clothes, your day-to-days, everything, your cars, everything's mass produced, and now everybody is kind of reeling themselves back in, and by default is finding themselves in more communal living spaces. That's why you got little breweries popping up everywhere around the corner.
Yeah.
So now you got your local breweries, you got local butcheries starting to pop back up, you got local markets.
Well, I think you're going to see a movement away from the big box stores.
They're destroying themselves. Target has lost, what, $9, $10, $11 billion here over the past.
I mean, who on earth thought that marketing idea should have got even to the conference table? I mean, how on earth?
How do you look at Bud Light and be like,
I mean, the whole executive board should be fired on that basis because they've absolutely destroyed, that brand. And
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I can speak for a gay person. I don't know, but being gay is only the only thing that matters when it comes to that is just who the person you're with. It doesn't matter what accomplishments you do after that. Those are just accomplishments. It doesn't matter who your partner is. Your accomplishments, like, well, this gay firefighter went in and saved 14 kids from a burning building. I said, it doesn't matter that he's gay. How about the fact that he saved 14 kids?
Yeah, exactly.
And like anything else, I think there are people that have hijacked this movement and essentially are turning around the tolerant people. To
the
finally,
backlash.
Yeah, exactly.
The backlash is staggering when you consider the millions and millions of dollars that have been taken from these publicly traded companies from someone peddling that concept.
Well, they continue to bet on the fact, conservatives, they don't hold the boycotts. But I think that line has finally been reached to where now they're just like, you know what? There are options local now. People are popping up all over the place. I can spend my money elsewhere. I'm going to vote with my dollar. Now Bud Light's collapsing. Target's collapsing. And, who knows what might end up happening with it. But those voting with your dollars things, they're putting these companies, they're putting them to the test. What is more important to you, profit or your ESG score? Because if profit is more important, then you're going to stop, you're going to just sell your stupid product and stop getting political and pandering, because where is your section for people who like having sex with animals? Where's your section for people who like having sex in costume? I mean, honestly, where is they're going to have their arguments. Where's their section? Where's your section with somebody humping a sheep with shirts of that on? Where's your section for people who like blow-up dolls? Where's your section for people who like animated girlfriends on the internet?
It's ridiculous.
It's just... Do your thing. Stop pandering. We are human beings, but they have turned us into products. That's what it is. We're the product, and we have got to pull ourselves away from that. Love thy neighbor, be a good person, and stop virtue signaling off of victimizations. You're not a victim. Just be a happy human being, and let's just go on about our lives. Like we don't need
get away from this nonsense because that's what it is. Everyone's just rolling the eyes in the back of their head. And what is the narrative? What is the agenda behind this? I've got no idea. I mean, apart from humanity and societal self-destruction, I really don't know what's really driving this narrative. I don't know. But when we come back locally, I mean, we can go down that bloody rabbit hole, and I hate using that expression as well. And it will serve no purpose. We all know it's stupid. We all know it's nonsense. and I just don't really want to waste any more time on it, quite frankly, because...
Well, I just think the boycott's important. And
absolutely.
And the fact that people are starting to wake up and understand they can...
Consequences and accountability.
Local.
Yeah.
Spend your money local. Stop going to these box stores. Stop, send your money to Anheuser-Busch. Send it to...
If we get a butcher's store here, which I'm beginning to think is going to happen, get away from the big box stores, and the products that they're peddling... I think there might actually be a baker's here. I can see a bakery opening up.
We've got the Get Baked, I think, down. I think I'm not sure if they do all kinds of bread. They might only do cakes and things like that.
Right.
But
I mean, like the old...
We were talking about the old school.
The old school, I mean, and it's in every town and every village in France is the patisserie, right? And it's freshly baked. And no, it doesn't last for... 2 weeks, in your bread bin because it's been jacked up with God knows what. Getting back to wholesome foods, we're going to need patisseries, bakeries. We're gonna need butchers to come in now with the cuts that you don't see in the big box stores,
and encourage children to take up in those arts. Like being a butcher, it's an art form. And it's one that's dying away because nobody wants to do it anymore. Encourage your kids. Those are going to be jobs here in the very near future. They're going to be bringing in the most amount of money because it's something that you really can't do automated. And for the demand for the local meat, they're not going to want it automated. They're going to want it. They're going to want it by a butcher, and there's going to be none left, and you're going to make a ton of money. So
it has to be on site, And I anticipate with a tongue in cheek. But watch this space. These things are coming to Rocky Mount. They're coming. And we need to embrace this fully because then we can get back to some old-fashioned values.
Yes, let's have Rocky Mount looking like Floyd downtown every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Yeah. People coming there, going to the bakery, going to a butchery, getting... their essentials here locally, going to a farm-to-table store. And then, who knows, maybe, sticking around and listening to some live music or something. Become a community. Let's get out. Let's get away from our phones. Let's come together and realize we got something here worth saving. None of the rest of it matters. If you're a woman and you want to bring your wife, or a husband want to bring your dude, or black dude with his white girlfriend, or white dude with his black... Nobody cares.
Who cares?
I have never once in any event ever anywhere around here seen anybody just lambasted for any decision they have made, unless it's one that involves alcohol and you're being stupid. Nobody cares. We're all about a good time.
But let's also accept some of the perversions of this new drag theme thing. It's a perversion. Go somewhere else with it. And if that makes me this homophobe or whatever you want to label me as for saying that, I'm going to give you some news. I don't fucking care, right? I really don't. I think it's a perversion, and we don't need it in our society. Because the only thing that we're seeing here is that these drag shows and drag queens, why do they want to perform to children?
Well, the thing people need to remember is this stuff's been going on forever. Drag shows have been going on forever and ever, back into the 70s. Nobody ever cared. Every city had its little niche, its little niche area, its little niche bar, and Roanoke had his, and that's where you'd go to the park, and that's where the drag shows are at. Or if you wanted to go to your country line dancing, you'd go to this place. Or if you wanted to go to your rap bar, you'd go to... Everything had its little niche, and it just seems like, well, now all of a sudden, everybody just wants to throw their niche in everybody's faces. You have to accept what I do, or else you're a homophobe. And it's just... It's happened. Nobody ever cared. That has been going on for 20, 30 years. Nobody ever mentioned it. Nobody cared. It was never in the forefront of anything. But why is it in the forefront of things now when so much other terrible... We just got done being locked down for 2 years where people were forced to get a vaccine to be able to go to a McDonald's in some parts of this country, where federal employees lost their jobs, where military people got shut out of their pensions, and the tyrannical things that have been going on, and we're focusing on a bunch of people who dress up like women and dance provocatively. Why are we giving them...
Why are we giving them airtime?
That's just... it's do what you want to do. I'm not, but it's a niche. It's like anything else. Like they have their own niche, just like people who were like big Star Wars fans or people who were big Star Trek fans. I mean, everybody's got their own little niche community of things. It doesn't have to be the forefront. I mean, your thing doesn't have. Why does this one have to be the forefront? It's just weird.
Yeah,
like,
I guess it is. It's we're in very strange times. I mean, I don't get it. Really?
Well, like I said, I think it's just leave the kids alone. At the end of the day, do what you want to do. That's between you, yourself, and God, and your partner, or whatever you want to do. But just leave the kids out of it. And I think that's a very simple concept.
Yeah, but if you want to prance around, right, as a guy dressed up as a girl with all this stupid crap on, go to New Orleans. All right? Don't come prancing down Main Street thinking that you're going to have your gay pride show, transvestite, what the hell ever. No. As a society, we're saying keep it behind closed doors and we don't have an issue. When you start prancing around with your perversions in public and on display, I don't agree with it. Call me old-fashioned. And does that make me the bigot? Well, you know what, again, I don't care.
Well,
that's very Ricky Gervais, isn't it?
Well,
I just don't care.
Well, personally, like I said, do what you want to do, and you probably shouldn't be going down the street doing it. You also probably shouldn't be going down the street and holding a Nazi flag and being a Klan member. And
no, absolutely
you
not.
You probably shouldn't be going. But if you want to do it and you get your permit to do it, then going down the street. And the difference is the news media and our culture isn't throwing the Klan guy walking down the street in everybody's front porch. They're throwing, So I'm saying the perversion shouldn't be celebrated, just like with the Klan. I mean, what you do in your bedroom is your own business. It's just morally it shouldn't be brought out to the forefront. Like that's between you and your partner. Like, it goes back to the Dylan Mulvaney thing with the Bud Light cans. Like, this person is a mockery of people who really are like trans, who have the body dysmorphia, I think it is, who really like he's wearing blackface. He's mocking women. And he's mocking like actual trans people who have issues, and he's making a fortune off doing it. And his target audience is kids. That's who are tuning in. It's 15, 16, 17-year-olds. That's who Bud Light goes after. So Bud Light's going after kids, essentially, with his following. And that's where I think nobody ever cared before. There was Pride cans on Bud Light before. Bud Light did their little rainbow thing. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody cares. But it's just gotten to a point now. Now you're mocking women. And that's where I have my problem. You set aside all this stuff for women's sports, women's athletics. You're mocking them by letting men compete in these sports. You're mocking women with this Dylan Mulvaney walking around on the countryside in high heels, eking and stuff. Like, women don't act like that. It's just like it would be like me wearing blackface and walking around downtown Rocky Mount with every black person stereotype attached to me and speaking crazy. That would be the same thing as he is doing, but he's celebrated for it. It's just devaluing our culture, and it's promoting just the degeneracy. You can be gay and not be degenerate. That's not what we're saying. You're not degenerate because you're gay. You're degenerate if you're throwing your sexual lifestyle out there for the world to see just to make yourself feel better. And this goes for the straight people who do the bondage stuff and all this stuff, wearing their leather and tight and chains in public too. It's not just for gay people. We're not talking about just them. We're talking about any of them. Like the degeneracy.
It's an attack on culture and societal standards. We have standards.
We should.
Well, of course we should. And I'm sure we've upset an enormous amount of people just by taking that stance. Or, in fact, we may not have. It may only be the very small, 0.1% that are going to be so offended by that statement. Well,
I think the thing that I just want people to understand when we talk about these things is, number one, we don't care. Don't care what you do with yourself behind closed doors. But you need to pull yourself back and think, if you're just not paying attention to us, or you don't care, you're getting involved, whatever way. I think they're setting these people up for failure. I mean, I think
the backlash is apparent.
Why would you do that? Why would you take the things that the people who just really wanted equality as far as like marriage, and maybe not even just the word marriage, just to be able to leave your belongings to somebody who, wasn't the same, they just wanted the same rights as humans as far as, when it comes to those things, and they got it. So the game should have been over. Okay, now you're equal and everything. But the agenda had to keep going because now these people wouldn't have a job because they won, so you got to find something else to gripe and complain about. Now they're going to end up turning the clock back on everything that the people before them fought for, because you're going to throw it in these people's faces so much, they're finally going to, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, oh, you're a bigot, you're a bigot, you're a bigot, you're a bigot, you're a bigot. 100 times on somebody's face, finally they're going to punch back. And then you're going to be able to say, oh my God, look, he just beat up a gay person, he's a bigot. Well, you know what I mean? It's just, that's where we're turning, where we're getting so divided.
But we're being sidetracked.
So divided in society.
Well, we're being sidetracked because the real issues that we should be deeply concerned about is the economy. Now, I've just read something where potentially we've got a 1.5 trillion liquidity drain that's looming on the horizon. And as soon as you're talking in trillions, you need to grasp what that number is. And look it up. There's a number of very good analogies about how you try to understand the depth of a trillion.
Well, a trillion grains of sand would probably fill up this entire house.
Oh, no, I mean, it's way more than that. I mean, but so when they're talking in trillions, I mean, at this point, we're dealing with monopoly money, right? And the press is, it just can't keep up with this crap. So I'm still the firm believer that the end game with the economy really is to digitize the dollar. And I'm very fearful of the consequences of a digitized dollar, because when you cancel cash, that's a huge hit on freedom, and that the control aspect behind what the Fed is doing, it worries me deeply.
Well, that's why we've got to continue on with our parallel economy here. That's why we've got to continue to support local. And when that digital currency, if it evidently does come to pass, then hey, come over here and can you fix my plumbing and I'll give you 10 pounds of meat? Or can you come over here and do this for me and I'll give you eggs for the week? Can you come over here and do this? You know what I mean? We're going to have to get back to that. And
well, to a certain extent, I think there's quite a few people. In fact, there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
And rightly so, because it cuts out, the 87,000 IRS agents.
But they were only hired to go after the 100 or 200 billionaires.
No. They are coming after you and me, right?
I think that got slammed though. I think that got
no.
Yeah, they that was part of the deal.
That it got cut. I'm not
that
sure.
That was part of the deal. When McCarthy got in, he was going to have to go in there and act.
Well, this last second deal. I mean, it's so comical that it's now a bipartisan deal. I mean,
I'm talking about the one a couple months ago with McCarthy getting nominated as Speaker, and
right.
Some of the Freedom Caucus had held out because what had happened is they had counted on the red wave coming, and they were going to have so much support that McCarthy was just going to get it regardless of what these people had to think, because they wouldn't negotiate with them. And then when it come down to it, the Republicans, as they always do, failed again miserably and didn't get as many seats as they thought. So for McCarthy to get his seat, now he had to negotiate with the Freedom Caucus people, who were the I guess you.
Well, now you've got Biden signing this new budget deal. I mean, that's if he knows how to write and pick up a pen. The lunacy behind this is, I mean, it blows my mind. And again, our representatives have failed us 100%.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable how they've got away with this. And we all called it. Oh, it'll be a last-minute deal signed, with hours left. The ink won't be dry before it hits the deadline. I mean, how cynical. I mean, and it's a crock. It really is. So yeah, we're financially. I think we are in very perilous times. The oil petrodollar is under extreme threat, and rightly so, because it's backed up this fiat currency, and that house of cards has to tumble down. I mean, the reality is, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And that's not an if, it's a when. And we edge closer every time we sign these stupid deals that allows, the budget deficit to roll over and expand and increase. And, we're devaluing the currency that's been propped up by the petrodollar for decades. And our time is up.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. We are Rome.
But when we fall, so will the rest of the world.
Oh, absolutely. The whole global economy
because we are China's bread and butter as well. Like, we buy all their mass
What,
products.
who out of the federal government did a sneaky visit over to China in the last couple of days? Someone of consequence, I can't remember. There's so much crap that's going on lately that you just can't absorb it all. But, there's some backdoor dealings going on with China. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole thing is, I tell people, alcohol, guns, ammo, seeds.
Yep.
People that either have chickens, goats, cattle, or get your own, just self-sustainability. Do everything you can, because that is a good way to crash the system. And that's a good way to make sure that
it's a good way to survive a crash system.
Survive yourself, exactly.
If you survive a crash system, guess what? You're a very dangerous man.
Exactly. You're going to be coming out looking on the other side. And I'm not trying to put fear into people, because I don't think it's going to, it's not going to be.
That's their modus operandi.
It's going to get ugly in highly dense populated areas. And I think that I don't know. Unfortunately, the same hammer that has been pretending to care about these people in these areas for so long is going to swing back around and hit them very hard. I think there's some bad stuff coming in this country. It's going to swing really hard in one direction or other, and it's going to get nasty before it gets better.
I think on Friday there will be a number of folks that witness this directly. Look, something went down at Walmart where their systems were hacked. A system was hacked. Something went down, and it happened at the same time at the bank. Something was going on where I think the EBT cards and those insurance companies that run those were not able to do transactions with Walmart. I think they had trouble with the credit card system. And this hasn't come out at all. But if you were in Walmart on Friday afternoon, and I hate to admit that I was there doing something or another, I can't remember what I was getting, but anyway, I saw this going down. And I'd come from the bank, and I pulled out of the bank drive-through just previously because the system wasn't working. So, I mean, there was 2 lines of cars running around the building in the Truist bank. And there were just people pulling out and just going, well, screw this, something's, I can't waste my day with just sat here and nothing going on. So then we went over to Walmart to get whatever it was we were looking for. And we encountered a very similar problem with coming to pay for groceries. Now, whether it was EBT related or credit card related, something went down. And it wasn't just Walmart. I haven't heard anything more about it. It was very odd. And I'd love to know a little bit more about it. Something odd happened, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because if they were to launch a full cyber attack, I tell you what, they pull our pants down.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the direction they're going with all this new technology with the electric cars. This has nothing to do with the environment, and for all you people out there who think it does, just Google a cobalt mine or a lithium mine or something. I mean, it's it's detrimental to health. There's no way to, as far as I know, to dispose of these big, large batteries and stuff, and the massive amount of energy it takes to charge these batteries is far greater than probably the energy it takes just to fuel with petro. But what they're going to be able to do is, when everybody is eventually electric, is to shut your car down. And, you said something bad on the internet today. Well, you don't have enough credit to start your car. Or you didn't do this today. We can start your car. You didn't make your payment. Your car is just going to drive itself back to the lot. You no longer have it. Like, and they'll say it's all in the name of green energy, and it's all in the name of safety. It's safe to have self-driving cars. That's the equilibrium, life versus death. It's just going to be there, and it's always been there through traveling, whether it be by horse and buggy and getting ambushed, or whether it be by train having a derailment, or whether it be by interstate. That's part of the risks of life. That's part of the risks you take, knowing you can get from point A to point B much faster than you can. Which, by the way, you can get hit by a vehicle walking if that's so. But they're going to take away that freedom from you. You're not going to have the freedom to just jump in a vehicle and drive where you want to. They're going to.
That control aspect is coming for sure. I don't have any doubt about that. I mean, this is all about power and control.
But it's not sustainable. It's no way sustainable, because look at California right now. They're having rolling blackouts. They can't keep up with the energy demands, and they're planning on being fully electric by 2035, which the state of Virginia is also tied to, unfortunately.
That's ridiculous.
It's so I'm not, and now you have Idaho or one of those states out in the upper Midwest that is now banning electric vehicles. So how is that going to work? If you want to go through that state, there's not going to be any stations, or we're facing down the barrel of such a split society on so many different things that, like you said, it's a house of cards, and it's eventually going to crumble, and the rest of the world's going to crumble as well. We'll find our way out on the other side, but we have to team together as a community and to try and get back kind of the local thing, to take it in, because we did the conspiracy show last week, and we're kind of starting to go back down that rabbit hole. Not really the conspiracy thing, just getting into that. I wanted to jump back local a little bit about some of the things that we have coming up here in the future that are going to focus on some of the things we're still talking about here. But with Melvin's Farm to Fork, they've expanded their store down there, and they've got a big open area for events and things. And Simon, you brought a phenomenal idea to me the other day about maybe what we should do. I want you to kind of go into that a little bit more in detail for the cook-off. Like, what would be your parameters and everything? I'm interested in this because I think this would be a fun event to do. We can go down there, we can set up a show, have the taste test, and
yeah, the logistics of it, I think, would be quite challenging, because we would have to limit it somehow.
Well, no, we could get maybe like 3 to 4 competitors or something. It doesn't have to be a massive thing, but
oh yeah, and we can I think encourage some of our culinary foodies to explore maybe the cuts of meat that are not on the big box store shelves, and just come up with flavourful food, because you're not getting it. I just don't know how the cook-off is going to work. I think it's a great idea as well. I mean, it just came to me in a flash of lunacy.
Well, you've got something like you speak of. It's not normally to be like lamb, for example.
Right.
I'm trying to think of another cut of meat they might have down there that's.
Well, lamb.
Well, they have the trout as well.
Yeah, you've got the trout, but then you've got these other cuts of meat that aren't presented in the store, like shanks of beef, beef oxtail. There's and some of them, and these, generally speaking, are the cheaper cuts of meat that are not readily available. But when you cook them correctly, the flavour profiles just blow filet mignon out of water. Because really filet mignon is not necessarily, everyone crows about, I had the best filet mignon. Well, no, you probably didn't, because really filet mignon doesn't have a great flavour profile. Filet mignon actually requires a very good sauce to bring out the tenderness and impart the flavour. because it doesn't have the marbling, let's say, of a prime rib. So, and then you've got these, oxtail when it's cooked properly, which is slow and, low and slow, and you're bringing in all the herbs and wine and slow cooking. It's just scrumptious. And there's a word not often used, scrumptious.
Well, it sounds very Willy Wonka-ish.
Well, it's a little bit, what's her name? Mary Poppins, isn't it? Wouldn't it be scrumptious?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we move on. So to come up with, half a dozen people that are excited about food, that have something different, not just throwing a steak on a barbie. Come on now. Let's think outside the box here and be creative with a dish, using maybe something that isn't so readily available, and challenge the culinary expertise of the chef, cook, whatever you want to call them.
Well, maybe perhaps something we could do, and I don't know if there are enough people that we know that just like it as a personal thing. Like somebody who just really enjoys getting out there and dipping into it just for themselves. I'm sure there's some people listening to the show you may know that really take a lot of pride in what they do personally. But, maybe it's something you could also do where we, maybe have 4 competitors and maybe one is Buddy. Maybe one is Chef Bo down here at the Burger Company. Maybe one is the folks down here from what's the catering company right here?
Just down the road,
Rocky,
yeah.
in Rocky Mount.
And then we know Gail is going to jump at this. She's a foodie and she's going to be all over this.
Center Stage Catering.
There you go.
So maybe you get them 3, and maybe you find one wild card of somebody who's just kind of local who really likes doing that kind of dab, and you take those 4 people and we set out their tents, and we draw from a hat to see what they end up having to prepare. And
well, no, I think they should do their own speciality.
You think so?
So long as it doesn't fit the norm, So there's got to be. It can't just be prime rib and roast potatoes.
Well, no. I'm saying we have, we assume that these people are very fluent in culinary, in the culinary prism. So what we do is we all have 4 separate odd cuts of meats, and maybe 4 agreed upon that they all each can do something with. But you draw out of a hat which one who gets what. So maybe Buddy gets the lamb, and maybe Chef Bo gets the other cut of meat, or maybe so they don't know what they're going to have to prepare ahead of time, and that's kind of part of the challenge. But maybe they just do it like your way, and they just know what they're going to do, and we have a taste test afterwards, or so. There's a lot of fun things you could do with it, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, putting the parameters in that way makes it more of a competition. But I want people to do something in that vein at their strengths and not throw them a googly. That's a cricketing term, by the way. Yeah, you'd never understand it. I'm not even going to attempt to explain it. It's just a googly, accept it, all right? It's just something different. So we want them to play to their strengths. And when you're talking some of the more offbeat cuts of meat, they require 4, 5, 6 hours of slow cooking. So it could be a day event. Now, we know what happens when we do day events. It becomes another perilous avenue where perhaps Henry Lee comes on board. We don't know where it could go. It could be very messy. But I think
or maybe we don't have to do it down there. For an event like that, who knows? Maybe we just all come together and do it somewhere with a little bit more space. Somewhere where we can fit a bigger crowd. A couple other vendors can show up with their things and stuff, and you know what I mean. Gail's, there's things we could do down there. I would love to do an open house down there with Gail's. But if we're talking about a cooking competition or something we bring people together. Maybe a little bit bigger of a venue. To where people could come along and set up a few extra.
Yeah, I can see the challenges logistically for 4 or 5 caterers doing 4 or 5 completely different dishes. That would be the challenge. But, I think the concept is a great idea and everything has to be local.
Yes.
You know, you have to source all your stuff local. And that actually isn't too much of a hardship because I think Stay Local Franklin County really has opened up that market. So, you know, we're going to put heads together on that. I think I'm ultimately going to be having a little chat with Gail, and Gail and I will, a buddy as well, you know, and Brian. We'll figure something out.
I think it's, and that's not just where we should start. I mean, we should be thinking about other things. And people who are listening, you know, have ideas, send them to us. Different things we can do to support local people and kind of showcase their abilities and showcase what they're able to do. So, you know, you'll want to come in here and, you know, test the waters for yourself a little bit. So, and it doesn't have to just be cooking. There's other things that we can fix. I mean, the sky's the limit of different. The talents. I think one thing we've learned from this show and all the different people we've interviewed, and I don't even call it an interview, all the people we spoke with and chatted with, there's such a wide range of talent around here. We can do so many different things with. I think we can do music.
Yeah, I think we'd have to do this one. I think this would require. I think we need to go visual with this as well. So that will be another challenge for us. Yeah, I mean, what a great event, and we can do that annually. You know, you're invited because you're in that realm, and it's not just, you know, any Tom, Dick, and Harry. You know, yeah, I think that would be a very cool thing to do. There is something else I wanted to touch on. You know, we know the chap that wasn't able to come today, the musician. But I had a question or an observation that I wanted to share and get his thoughts on it. Because my wife Heather just happened to be playing some music this morning, and it was an old Dixie Chick song. What a phenomenal act they were. Like, they still are.
They're the Chicks. No?
Well, I'm not going to go down that road of PC shit either. But, and yeah, Lady A, yeah, I get it. But anyway, what dawned on me, and it dawned on me a few years ago, that when the Dixie Chicks were basically cut off, right? I think Nashville, because they made the lead singer there made some disparaging comments in London about President Bush at the time. They all colluded, and all the radio stations no longer played Dixie Chick songs. They were completely
ostracized.
They were ostracized.
They were cancelled.
And from an artist's perspective, I find that highly offensive. I mean, I couldn't think of anything more offensive than cutting off the arts. Why would you do that? And it goes into a conspiracy theory as to how that happened. Because the observation that I made over several years was that the only song, the Dixie Chicks song, that would get any airtime was their cover of that Fleetwood Mac song. Landslide. And that was the only song that would get playtime by the Dixie Chicks on any radio station. And I thought, why is this? Of all their repertoire, they had a fantastic catalogue of songs, hit songs, you name it. Why are they only playing that one song? And it dawned on me, the people that get paid for that song are the people that write it, not the people that perform it. So not did they just cut them off from any listening audience, they also cut their income string off from being such, I mean, one of the country's, if not the world's greatest girl country bands. They cut their income. I mean, it's worse than ostracization, right? And that was definitely a conspiracy. And I'm very offended that, particularly with some of the comments that you hear now politically from a number of artists, that they have maintained this ostracization, and now they are only getting airplay as the Chicks, right, with their new album, but none of their old stuff is being played, and they will only play that one Fleetwood Mac song, and that's because Fleetwood Mac get the royalties for it. And I find that very offensive.
Well, and let's not forget to mention that there are critical comments and criticization of George Bush was all warranted and necessary. He was a monster. His family were monsters. They got us into that quagmire. They got us into the Afghanistan quagmire. And now he just sits around painting pictures all damn day long like a dipshit.
Right, but these are the tentacles of Nashville absolutely going out to wipe someone off the face of the planet. I mean, are you not offended by that? Because I bloody well am.
It happened to Dave Chappelle, too.
Yeah.
They wiped him off. I mean, for life of me, I can't remember all the ins and outs of the whole thing. I think it had something to do with the fact that he was bringing in bukus of money and they were giving him fractions of it. And it was, him. It was all him. And he was, and he told them no. And I think somebody had said, man, they can destroy him at the snap of a finger. And they said by the time his plane landed, they already had stuff in the news about things he was doing that was completely untrue and stuff. He just basically said no. He said, if I'm bringing you in, $100 million and you're only paying me $5 million, he said, that's absurd. He said, I'm, at least worth, whatever the case may be. He said, and so whatever offer they gave him, and that was the biggest thing. I mean, Dave Chappelle was huge for the culture at that time. Because his very first episode that just brought it right under the open.
Clayton Bigsby.
Was a black white supremacist. I mean, to be able to poke fun and bring stuff together, you know what I mean? Like, and
I mean, talk about a pair. That took some kahunas, right? I mean, I could not believe from his opening show, he came out as a black white supremacist, Ku Klux Klan member. The balls of the guy, it's timeless.
And the one part of that where he pulls up at an intersection and there's this rap music blasting, and he hangs out the window and he screams the N-word at him, and it's a bunch of white kids listening to the black music. You know what I mean? That goes down as one of the funniest comedy sketches of all time. But that was so important for a number of reasons. Number one, it allowed us to be able to poke fun at our past and to be able to find ways to kind of move on and
I mean, satire is it was brilliant.
And Chappelle was the greatest, and then after him, it just all went downhill. Like, it got to be such garbage. Like, Chappelle was the last great one to do it. Like, Saturday Night Live used to have some great skits, back in the day, but Chappelle, he was the last great one to do it because everything got so PC after that, because he made fun of everybody. It didn't matter. Asians, Jewish people, black people, white. I mean, he had the whole one where the skit about reparations, and he said in the skit that the stock of Cadillac and KFC and all this stuff went straight through the roof. I mean, it's just you have to be part. You know what I mean? Like, it's this ChatGPT stuff today. If you go there and say ChatGPT, do a joke about white people, it'll give you a joke about white people. If you say do a joke about Asians or black people or anything, and say, well, we can't do that. That's offensive to this kind of culture. And the Asians people asking the questions like, well, I'm Asian. I want to be part of the culture. These people are ultimately discriminating, and they're brainwashed to think they're doing good. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
And how on earth did Alec Baldwin keep a straight face with sweaty balls?
I don't know.
I don't know how. I mean, and
well, he did just get done murdering somebody and got away with it, so he's a pretty good actor, I guess.
Yeah, there is that. I don't know how. Well, that's actually quite a tough one because I think the case had to be brought because he was the guy who pulled the trigger. But the circumstances.
All matters at the end of the day.
Well, absolutely.
If you're in possession of a firearm, whether it's a prop.
But that's why they had to bring the case, even if, and it was quite clear to me that he was always going to get off with that. But I think that case had to be heard because he was the guy that pulled the trigger. So the merits of the case at that point didn't really matter. It had to be heard. He had to be accused and stand trial for that. Now, I don't particularly like Alec Baldwin. I think he's a complete pompous
Well, he had motive,
arse.
and he had the weapon, and he also had other live rounds in his pocket. The only ones found on set were like in a can somewhere and in his pocket. Those were the only live rounds.
Yeah, what was he doing with live rounds in his pocket? One has
His
to
happened to
ask.
have a live round in there. He happened to pull back the trigger. Wasn't even called for necessary for what they were doing. It wasn't even a shooting scene. And he only happened to hit the woman who they just got done having a dinner with the night before. They were arguing about, safety on the set and things to that nature. There'd already been live rounds popped off on set. The crew was having issues with production team. They getting ready to walk off set. He had motive. He had the weapon in his hand. Like, you to assume it was an accident, you have to make a lot of assumptions. And I'm the kind of guy that goes, what's the least amount of assumptions? Least amount of assumptions is he had motive, he had the weapon, he had live rounds, he had a beef.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the depth of.
Oh yeah, it's
what was going on there. But hey, another rich guy gets away with it, right?
It seems to be the modus apparatus here lately, but I'm excited about back to the cooking competition. I'm excited about that. I think we need to reach out to Gail. Of course, we got Chris. We got different cuts of meat around here, and figure something out. Let's get up 4 contestants, and maybe have it somewhere where
it's where we can pull it off.
Where we can pull it off.
Yeah.
Maybe have some live music come in there and a few other vendors and stuff, and. You need to set it out where people can be interested in the entire process, not just like when people want to come and watch them preparing it and kind of talk about it. Maybe even kind of do a presentation, like, well, here's what I'm doing here, here's how I'm doing it, and then everybody puts their food in to start cooking.
Yeah.
And then you have the live music for a while. The other vendors, you walk around, do this kind of stuff, and then you come back. The food is ready. People can eat. Then we have a judging competition. But you make enough on the side as well. Or maybe you have another food truck on the side of people just making stuff to keep bellies fed until the final product is done. But there's different things we can do. We've got these options. That's the fun part about it.
Yeah, I mean, so it's finding the facility, and it's clicking through my brain now that I think with the Morris Hotel easing towards opening, that might actually be a very good opportunity to do something there. We know that the Burger Company isn't open on a Monday. I don't know about Buddy's. So we can explore all of these, commercial certified kitchens, and maybe do it on an off night, or in fact do it, to coincide maybe with the opening of the Morris Hotel. Or
do we know when that's going to be?
We're not 100% sure. I'm beginning, having spoken to Philip on several occasions. I think we might be looking towards August. Not necessarily for the hotel, but for the farm to table store, the kitchen, tasting room. It's moving ahead fairly rapidly, and if the right sort of things start to fall into place, it could be even sooner. So things are moving and shaking there, and that would be a great launch for that. I mean, I'll have a chat with Philip. But yeah, we've got options, and options are a good thing.
Or just find somewhere with a big grassy knoll and everybody bring their grill and set up their tent. And
well, it's going to be a little bit more than grilling with some of the techniques that we require.
You're thinking of something super. You're thinking way outside the box.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm thinking, and it's not foo-foo, Michelin star chef crap. Local produce and tasty, healthy, just good tucker. So it doesn't have to be. I mean, it could be something simple. Dare I say, as a shepherd's pie. Very easy to cook, very easy to source. But then you can go into some of the more sophisticated, slow cooked meals as well. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think that's it. I think it's a great idea. I love it. I'm fully behind it.
Well, if nothing else either, maybe we find a spot where once a month you have a deal during the summertime where you set up one local person who wants to, not necessarily a food truck, somebody wants to show off their product or whatever, and all locally sourced food. They come down there and they prepare food for everybody. And then you have a little bit of music or something, and a couple people hang out. You sell a couple. I mean, something to get the community interested. Something, we should have something once a month around here where people try and get together. And
well, I think we should be maybe thinking about, the food truck concept and the farmers markets. It's already, a supported event to a certain extent. We can do all kinds of crazy stuff. But, not everyone's got a food truck at their disposal. So, there goes another brainstorm. Anyway, I mean, there's stuff that we can do to promote local as well. And this is what we really need to be doing.
I agree. And like I was telling you earlier, I kind of looked back, and we've been doing the show for a couple years now, and I kind of looked at the numbers, and from the day pretty much Simon came on as a full-time part of the show, like I said, the numbers have kind of doubled up, and that's a breath of fresh air, because I know we're reaching people. I know people are listening. I know they're paying attention. And I know they're becoming excited about, things that we can do
for the community.
Well, for the community, for their community, for people that aren't from around here that are listening and taking some of these ideas and they're implementing them in their community, and they're kind of strengthening and growing, and the webs we're building. The podcast isn't necessarily just about how many people tune in and listen. I mean, it is to some degree, because that's where you want to. I mean, that's where some of your metrics come in. But a lot of people don't. There's a lot of people that listen to every show, and there's a ton of people that might listen to this show or that show, something that might interest them. And that's the great thing about it, is we have people come and go. We have different guests. We have different themes. But that allows people to share it with other people, and then their friends will come and listen to this show, and that's how we continue to grow. But the web, the network we're starting to build,
it's very dynamic.
I think it's the most important thing. It's not just the listens; it's the fact that you do get a lot of people that listen, but you get a lot of people that will comment on Facebook, a lot of people that will comment on Instagram, a lot of people that will comment on Twitter, a lot of people that are sharing your ideas, a lot of people that are implementing those ideas in their communities, a lot of people that are coming here locally based off of our recommendations. And then you've got the people that are now coming together and reaching out to Chris, or reaching out to Nick, reaching out to some of our friends that were like, hey man, I heard you on the show, I want to reach out to this guy for this, or hey, I want to reach out to Amos to help me do this, I want to reach out to Thad, how can I? So we are connecting people, and
it's, I think networking.
And it's working though, it's working. That's what I'm saying, it's beautiful.
Case in point, last night whilst I was quaffing down glasses of white wine, there was at least 3 or 4 people, and it was the manager, and I think the owner Graham was there. There was the young lady behind the bar. They all came round and went, "Oh, you're Simon. We know who you are." Just like shit. Your voice, they recognise. My accent, they recognise. And so we know we're getting traction. Okay. Not necessarily for all the right reasons.
Not always. But for the most part, I mean, look, let's think back at, I mean, just since you've been on board here, the phenomenal young talent we've had a chance to promote, and Nick Robertson, Colby Helms, Rick Reeves, Terrell Basham,
Josh Grice.
He's not young and he's not talented. Billy Hurt.
I love you, Josh.
Billy's well established. All the people that we've had on here, all the talent, all the inspiration we have in just this little area. It's really wild to think about. It's wild to think that we have so much to talk about. We have enough content around here to talk every week. We could do this show 3 times a week if we had the time to actually.
My wife will kill you.
Yeah, I know. Unless we start making a lot of money, which is why people should start subscribing at patreon.com/getontap for only $3 a month.
That was a good plug, Billy. Did I lead you into that?
I'm thinking about we're going to start. I'm going to take Spike's advice. We're going to start looking into video, because I think some of these rants Simon goes on will make great clips. Not all of them are going to be able to go to video, because depending on the source, you might need Wi-Fi. And we do some up on the mountain. We do some at places that don't necessarily have it, and that's fine by me. But for some of these things, we need to go to some video clips.
My rugby rant was epic.
It was. I wish we would have.
I wish we'd have been able to record
on video,
that.
So.
But trust me, I've got so many more horror stories in that vein. I mean, I was a horrible child, and that carried through to my young adult life. And it's probably still got some of it with me now.
We're looking to do good things here in the future. We're looking to maybe attend some more events and get out there in the public. And now that now that my little one is getting to be to the point where we can bring him out in public and he can have a good time, Simon, Heather, his family, I'll get out there and be at some of these events and kind of expand our reach, because if you find that happy medium in between to where we get out there and get out there just enough, it can be self-sustaining, and then we can sit back and reap the benefits. We can be a part of these events and not have to put in all the legwork. We can be a part of these events and just sit back and enjoy. We can see our communities thrive, and we don't have to necessarily put in all the effort and legwork, which will make our wives happy, which will make our lives happy, because a happy wife makes a happy life. And I enjoy doing this show. It's a lot of fun. I think it's therapeutic, for one. I love sitting down here and shooting the breeze with Simon, and every person we bring on here has a different, unique perspective. And what we're doing here is...
well, I think Spike put it the best. No one else is doing it like you.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite, because most of the people that got big national bases, which we don't have a big national base, but we have we have national guests and regional guests. That ends up being their main focus. So that means we have national, regional, and local. We have a nice mix of all, and I think that's great. I think the fact that we got some people who are from around here that are tuning in are going to want to come here and spend their money at something. That we have some local people that are going to start tuning in to somebody like Spike and paying attention to what he's got to say and saying, he's making a lot of sense. How can we apply this to our local government? How can we apply this to our local economy? How can we take some of these things and make our lives better? So I'm enjoying connecting the dots. I'm enjoying the network, and I'm enjoying bringing people together. I'm enjoying the fact that Nick has went out there and really put forth the effort to bring a lot of these local people together.
And on that note, actually, we're wishing the fastest of recoveries for Nick. He had a bit of a spell, and I was pretty brutal with him. But we're hoping Nick has a swift recovery, and I think he's got to make some adjustments, as he said, with his continued future. And I think he's got a great opportunity with Stay Local Franklin County and a few other things that will feed off from that. But let's wish him a good, fast, speedy recovery, and hope his health gets back to where it needs to be.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good place to stop. We've had a pretty good show here, just kind of touching base on some things and some things we hope for the future. Is there anything else that you're kind of looking forward to for this summer? Because we have so many opportunities, so many different things we can do. Is there anything else other than the cook-off you'd really like to see ourselves dive into from here going forward? We've got so much on the horizon from different shows.
We've got some challenges coming up. I know there's going to be a fairly lively Board of Supervisors election towards, is that September, October? And that's fraught with all sorts of problems. We know that the property tax assessment is going to upset a lot of people. And there's some unanswered questions with regards to the Summit Business Park and what unforeseen circumstances they're encountering seems to elude us. I'd love to know a little bit more about that, because I think that's it's going to have a very direct impact on why some of these property taxes are going to go through the bloody roof. So, we still need to be politically engaged, as much as I can't stand that whole process, because it's just a nest of vipers. We have to hold feet to the fire on that, and that's not fun. I don't necessarily like going off the deep end on these people. Some of them, it's not their fault, and they're trying to do their best as well, but it's just not stacking up. I think that food show is going to be great. I think the Morris Hotel opening is going to be a massive boost to downtown Rocky Mount. I'd like to still keep eyes on the Harvester for all the right reasons. We want that to succeed. So, but the transparency there needs to come a little bit forward. I know there's some budget issues with town council and board of supervisors with regards to public safety. Public safety is one of the things that I want to take a closer look at, because I'm thinking they're spending more than their bank balance allows them. So that requires a little bit of scrutiny. I think the development of the local markets and farmers markets is going to be key to feeding this county with healthy options, if you unfortunately have the money to do so. And that's a sad reflection. But you've got to move beyond that. And we've got to make some of this, attainable for the local residents. We're looking to help in any way we can with and strive for a community that is thriving. And I think we're getting pretty close to being in that situation. So credit to everyone for, seeing the wood for the trees, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of smoke out there, and if we can push through, I think we've got a very challenging year for national politics. I think we've got an extremely critical period globally, and that's not improving. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I think we just got to push through and just keep doing the right thing.
I agree. I'm extremely looking forward to this whole cook-off thing. I think we can try and find a way to make it work. I'm looking forward to the hotel opening up. Looking forward to our event coming up here in the fall time, hopefully with the Ferrum College baseball team and Abe Naff and all those guys. Hopefully we can get the Ferrum College people on here in the near future. I'd like to get the people up there for the Ferrum Folklife Festival. I think it'd be fun to maybe set up there next year and do a show if we can make that
for sure.
work. I think it'd be a blast. I've always went to that as a kid. My kids love it. We're sneaking up on 4th of July again. I don't know if we're going to have a shindig here or there or wherever we're going to end up doing it, but
I'm not sure. I'm sure my arm's going to get twisted to set off a load of illegal fireworks up on the hill.
Perhaps it can be a more intimate, private.
I'm thinking it needs to go that way because it's got a little bit too. I'm not going to say too big, but it lost its intimacy.
Yes, maybe have maybe we can incorporate do it for like a little private event, like a Appalachian podcast appreciation shindig, where some of our former guests, we invite them up there to say, hey, we appreciate your time and effort, and then we mix that in a little bit with our normal crowd and bing, bang, boom. Or we can do that somewhere else too, but I think we should do something like that here in the near future, have a appreciation event somewhere, some way, shape, or form. We'll be up there or not. We know some of our favorites are going to be up there on the mountain regardless, or down on our mountain if we can make it happen this year. Like
we'll figure it out.
Like Brandon and Emmett Bird and a lot of the guys that really do support this show and come on and give us their time. But yeah, we're inspiring people. I'm having a blast with it. I want to continue to do it. We've got some great guests lined up here in the near future. We're going to get to Homestead Creamery, some good farmers.
Well, we've got we want the president from Ferrum College.
Ferrum College.
We definitely want Chase and Jess on from KC Farms. Again, Thad and Gail are always welcome.
We got Spike. We're going to do some more shows with him in the future, and hopefully some more liberty-minded guys come here. We can do some more events with...
we might actually be able to have a chat with Daniel Austin. There's a lot of folks who know who Daniel Austin is, but he's a provider of some of the non-GMO grains and feed for livestock. And he's got a great little thing going there, and it's not so little anymore. And he's got a thriving business out there by Old Forge, that crossroads on Old Forge and 6 Mile Post is down the road there. And he's a fascinating guy. Such an affable guy as well. I mean, he's been no end of influence and optimism. Just a super guy. So he combined with Chase, again Chris and Thad, and Gail. That will be a great show. I mean, the problem is I don't know how we keep them all quiet.
Yeah,
but hey, let them roll.
yeah. Roll with it. And Spike was super excited about that food show, so hopefully we got some stuff with him coming up, some other Liberty guys making their way down here. We got big names coming in, too. These are some of the local names we're throwing out there. Having a lot of fun with it. Keep up with us. Hopefully we have some more events coming up in the future. Hopefully here now it's getting warm in summertime as well. Maybe we'll say a night, hey, we're going to have a big hangout night at Chaos, or we'll have a big hangout night at Living Proof, or we'll have a big hangout night at the Burger Company. Not do anything, but everybody show up and just come in there and all give that business a big surge for a night. You know, go in there and have a big surge. Everybody go in there and eat, grab something to eat, grab some drinks, whatever. We'll all just sit in there and hang out and shoot the breeze, bounce ideas off of each other. And, you know, Simon, me, myself, our families will just come together and have one. So
social intercourse.
Exactly. And on that note, patreon.com/getontap, $3 a month. You'll get this show and many others early, like it's going to be. I'm going to start, whether I can get Simon on it or not, I think I might start doing like a 20-minute rant or something once a week, just to out there on the Patreon as well, just to get some stuff out there.
Yeah, we can do that remotely as well, so I can chime in. I mean, there's certain things where I just lose my mind, and everybody enjoys a good rant, and I'm well known for it. So, I mean,
It doesn't have to be about, if it's just 15 or 20 minutes, maybe we'll do that once a week or twice. Well, who knows? It doesn't have to be a whole structured thing, but we'll start getting some more stuff out there for our Patreon people. The guy we're supposed to have here today, perhaps maybe in a month and a half or something, we can just do a show with him upstairs at the Burger Company. That way he can bring his guitar, play some music, and for our Patreon subscribers, all y'all show up. You can come up there, listen to the show live. We'll buy you a beer or something just for showing up and being subscribers.
Yeah,
beer on us or something, or a drink. I can't say, maybe there's...
Well, and as well,
care.
I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more engagement with, what is on people's minds as well. So engage with us on your comments. That gives us some direction as well, and it may be something that we've overlooked. So, yeah, I mean, engage with us. We're not the ogres that are going to slam the door, in your face and shut you down. I mean, if you're a mouth-breathing slackjaw, there's a distinct possibility that might happen. But, that's because you've given a very uneducated opinion. So have some structure to it. But if something's got under your goat, or maybe you're a whistleblower, give us a shout.
Yeah, reach out. I mean, we're just trying to talk about what's important to us and everybody else. And,
yeah.
And I think I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I do sincerely appreciate everybody that's been a part of it. Once again, patreon.com/getontap, $3 a month or more if you want to. You can also do a one-time donation, paypal.com at WB Riddle, or you can go to Cash App and Venmo, or both at Get On Tap for their specific ones. We've had some people, Cindy Cundiff, she threw us a little bit of money out there, Chris's mother-in-law, thanks to her. For supporting us, anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone, hey, dare I say this? If anyone there is in a position to maybe donate some older GoPro equipment that would allow us to do some video work, or at least get our heads around that whole
video concept.
The video concept. Oh, God help us.
We might have to go through makeup.
Don't you start that game.
I'm just saying.
But anyway, I mean, if anyone is there to help us out, I mean, give us a holler, because I think we're looking to expand down that road. It's inevitable. And there's a few spin-offs as well that I'm thinking that will be very exciting. So, yeah, if anyone's in the know, has older equipment that they've traded out or what have you, we could do with a hand.
Yeah, reach out to us. We're trying to figure out this whole thing as we go. So,
because we are the original slack-jaw, mouth-breathing idiots.
And this is a community effort, so everybody's much well appreciated. So, for Simon, I'm Billy. Thank y'all again, and we'll catch you the next time.
God bless.